The first officially recorded football match in Scotland took place in 1314, immediately after the Battle of Bannockburn, when two teams of Scots kicked the severed head of an Englishman to and fro across the bloody battlefield. It was a poor game with defences well on top, and few genuine goalmouth incidents, according to the Sunday Post's Doug Bailey, who was present at the time. Since then, the game has blossomed into this unhealthy obsession with blinkered national arrogance and the clinging to fanaticism and mindless tribal bigotries that we all know and love.
And Naked Radio presents Only an Excuse, the true story of Scottish football, narrated by William McElvany. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Summer 1986. As the first P rattles its tuneful way around the first referee's whistle to blow for the first kick-off in faraway Mexico, fever grips the country. For this is more than just another soccer tournament. This is a chance for the nation to unite in a common cause, an opportunity to show the world what we are made of, a brilliant excuse to get pissed. But for those fans who wandered far away with the Scottish soccer soldiers, they can enjoy the benefits of actually being there.
Hey Bob, I'm just reading here that the pollution in Mexico City is so bad that breathing the air there is the equivalent of smoking 40 cigarettes a day.
40 cigarettes a day?
Aye.
That's magic, so we don't have to buy fags then. Oh, and that's all the more money to spend on the Pepe.
Oh, here we go, here we go, here we go.
As the tournament progresses, punters become pundits and heirs become experts, as opinions are aired in the bus queues, the bars, and the peat bogs of Scotland.
Oh, yes, I like the World Cup. It gives all of us lads on the island another interest for a couple of weeks. And gives the sheep a break too.
Shouldering the hopes of the people and the sheep for a long involvement in the tournament, the man who walks the fine line that separates a shambles from mere disaster, Alex Ferguson.
Well, regarding the selection of the squad for Mexico, I felt I had to remain loyal to the players who'd done so well at the recording of our World Cup single the week before. Of course, the big shock came when Kenny Dalglish had to pull out of the squad. Well, to be honest, there isn't a footballer in the world can replace Kenny Dalglish, so I called in Steve Archibald, because he isn't a footballer.
Steve's big strength lies in his variety of play. He can't do just about anything. He has in the past been likened to an unleashed cobra, but not by anyone who's seen him play football. But let me refrain from that oh-so-Scottish a trait of being over-elaborate in praising our soccer heroes, and begin the story not where it ends, but where it begins. In the oozing mud or the abrasive ash of the municipal playing fields of Scotland, where the spirit that moved our forefathers to take up the game in the name of sportsmanship and brotherhood still remains.
Right, lads. Now, this bunch today are nothing but a load of putrid trash. So I want you to go out there and grind their faces into the dirt. Because remember, we're not just any works football team. We are Dukla, Pumferson, Sawmill and Tannery. Who are we, lads?
Dukla, Pumferson, Sawmills and Tannery.
You better believe it. Now, I've compiled a detailed dossier on the opposition that I've scribbled on the back of this bookie's line, so pay attention. Right, first the wee winger. Now, he's got a good left foot and he's nippy, but he has a weakness. He suffers from angina. So every chance he's get, he hoof the ball straight into the canal and make a wee bastard swim for it. Then there's Chalmers, the elegant midfield maestro with a bad perm and a beer belly. Now, I have a lot of respect for this guy, so I'm going to operate a special marking system today. Spud, you mark his face, Dougie will mark his ribs, and wee Ferret will drag his studs down the back of his thighs. Right, now most of you will remember the last time we were here, their keeper, Tojo, played a blinder. He was safe and he was agile. But today, boys, we're in luck, because I've heard through the grapevine that his wife's just left him and he's been made redundant. So, strikers, every time he's get within hearing distance, make sure he's taunt his manhood and question his virility. That'll be enough to shatter his self-esteem and should be worth a goalie a start. All right, boys, by my watch, it's coming up to 2:30. So, let's stub the fags into the export cans and get strapped. Oh, aye, and boys, most important thing, for God's sake, make sure you go out there and enjoy yourselves. After all, it's only a game.
But from the very early days, it was apparent it was more than just that. Few of those present are unlikely to forget the Battle of Falkirk in 1298, when droves of marauding East Stirling supporters sacked the town and massacred 40,000 men, women and children after the Bairns had snatched the late winner in the semi-final of the Stirlingshire Cup. Or the Cup final of 1923, the Let's Go on the Rampage and Wreck the Place final, as it affectionately came to be known. But probably the biggest single event to influence the course of Scottish football was the Reformation in Scotland, which began at 3 o'clock in the middle of the 16th century and is still going on today. Bigotry, sectarianism, hatred. Where would our game be without it? Amidst this cauldron of confusion and cesspit of suspicion, the clubs themselves are not entirely blameless in perpetrating the myth that every old firm clash is in fact a reenactment of the soapy bubble of the Boyne. I asked the Parkhead spokesman why there has never been a Protestant elected to the board at Celtic Park.
Why has there never been a Protestant elected to the board at Celtic Park? What's a Protestant?
And I raised once again with Rangers Secretary Campbell Ogilvie the prickly question of signing policies.
No, it's no longer a prickly issue, because we're no longer going to sign pricks.
But despite the liberal views taken by the clubs, the fans, the lifeblood of the game, the mug punters who part with the Reddies, remain entrenched in tradition, intransigent in their views that they are the people, never once contemplating the prospect that God might be an atheist. Brother Forbes McLoyalist.
See, everybody thinks I'm a bigot just because I've got 1690 tattooed on my forehead. But that's rubbish. I mean, I live next door to a Catholic family, and I've never put a brick through their window. Well, no since the last time. But just let me say this. Let me make it clear. We, the no-surrender True Blue King William III Rangers Supporters Club, are a non-sectarian club. It's just that, for some strange reason, a Catholic has never ever joined.
Grand Knight Father Tim Malley.
Well, Protestants. They think of us Catholics as self-assured, smug, arrogant. But we can't help that. Just because when we die we go to heaven and they go straight to hell. But in truth I would say that not all Protestants are bad. The ones that play for Celtic are okay.
And what of the players? Danny McGrain made his views crystal clear.
Well, if they not the Celtic Catholic Protestant, it's not a much hypocrisy.
But for the last word on this ever-present issue, we go to sunny Spain, to a man noted for his unbiased, gentle diplomacy, Jock Wallace.
Religion. Oh, no, as I've said before, football is my religion. $3.95 from any good bookshop. No religion. No. I'm a blue nose. Always will be. But I don't have anything to do with religion. It doesn't interest me. I'm here to do a job in Seville, and why Seville? Well, it's famous for its oranges, and where there's oranges, there's orangemen, right? But no, once I've settled in here, things will be fine. Once I've taught the fans the words of Derry's walls. But as for religion, it's no problem, no. The only problem out here in a country like Spain is the language and the heat and finding 11 proddies to make up a team.
But there is more to Scottish football than this. Not much, mind you, but still there are other clubs whose names conjure up a certain magic. Names like Brechin City FC. People who say that the small clubs, the minnows, have no place in Scottish football have never stood here. Glebe Park, Brechin. Here in the Glebe Street Hall of Fame, I look up at the Roll of Honour and read the endless list of famous and revered players who have graced the club. McClardy, Binney, Tochar, Trialist. Names to conjure with and savour. In their long and illustrious history, 1906 to 1986, or as they're known here, the wilderness years, records have come easily to Brechin City. They were the first club to dabble in sponsorship when the people of Brechin offered them money to go and play somewhere else. They introduced the concept of total football, or as it's called, 11-man football. That's 10 in defence and 1 in goal. And they boast the longest-serving janitor in Scottish football.
Oh, aye. Well, we like to think of City more as a family. Constantly at each other's throats and arguing, like. I suppose we all do live in our memories. It's like a great 1911-12 season, when we did the league and cup double. We won a game in the league, then went on to win another game in the cup. See, no Brechin side had ever done that before. And you, players were a different breed then. I mean, you could pick up a good player for nothing. And nothing was a lot of money in the days. They'd get a farthing a week. But there were bonuses too, like if they won a match, they'd get a bath afterwards, you see. Because see, players, they weren't pampered like they are now. No, there were no blow dries and perms in these days, and no paternity suits either. No, they just wore their working clothes.
But even the Brechins had to succumb to creeping commercialism. A player in his testimonial year came to expect the whirl of coffee mornings, beetle drives and pyjama parties held in his honour, culminating in a spectacular testimonial jumble sale and tombola.
Oh, yes. I can remember one day. I had just finished training. I was putting the heat on a brick wall to strengthen my shoulder muscles, so that if I hit the ball on Saturday, my neck didn't break. Anyway, over came the boss, Mr. Stark, one of the immortals. Of course he did know. And he said to me, "Well, lad, how much do you earn?" I said, £5 a week, sir. He said, "Right, from now on it'll be 1 and 3." I said, "Well, thanks very much, Mr. Stark," because he was a legend after all. So, from then on, my wages were 1 and 3 a week.
When was this exactly?
1978.
Of course, it's a different world we live in now. Nowadays, only a few clubs can draw crowds of, say, 50,000. Yet, as recently as 1924, 180,000 spectators gathered at Hampden Park on the afternoon of April the 5th to watch the groundsman painting the goalposts. That record stands to this day. And then there were the games. The most famous football result in history, Arbroath 36, Bonaccord 0, tells only half the story. The Bonaccord goalkeeper had no time to feel sorry for himself, as the following week he won the first of his many international caps for Scotland. But if the game itself is magic, then the players are the magicians. The Merlins of the Camelot the rest of the world calls merely a football pitch, and we call a football pitch as well. Who is the greatest Scottish footballer of them all? A debate that will continue as long as men have false teeth and eloquent tongues in their heads.
But a great player in them all, the onion that aye. You know him?
Oh, who? Him that going that you?
No, him not. You know, Thing me.
Oh, aye, big Thing me. What do you call him?
Oh, we Thing me, ma. What's his name?
What?
Aye.
Oh, jeez, him. Aye, nah. No, what about no? Who's it? Aye, him. Oh no, and maybe no. Aye, but mind you.
Aye, rubbish. Him,
That who? No way. No, listen, I'll tell you who, right? I'll tell you, right? I haven't. That's him.
Oh,
You know who I mean?
Now you're talking.
Aye.
Now you are talking.
What?
Thing me, what's it? The wee big man.
No, fuck it thing, mate. The big V man that...
Aye, but okay, no, wait a minute. But the greatest of them all.
Gee, it's dead hard but to choose one. Few of they great names.
But what about those who have played against our footballing legends? Emlyn Hughes.
Well, it has to be Jimmy Johnson. What a time he gave me. He went this way and that way round the back between me legs. Oh, he was turning me inside out. Then the referee came into the dressing room and told us we had to go back out for the second half.
Or what about those who have played alongside our footballing legends? Celtic manager David Hay.
The greatest player I've ever seen. With my eyes, like. Do you mean like seeing him on the radio? Or do you mean like you're here and there, playing on the park? Football, like? I'd say the best, greatest Scottish player of them all was Pelé.
Pelé was a Brazilian.
What, for Brazil, like? You know, I always wondered why he never won a Scottish cap. Beckenbauer, Kaiser Frank. Was he Scottish?
German.
Bobby Charlton, Jeff Hurst, Shakespeare.
Or then again, there are those who have watched them all. Well-known commentator and Candy Floss impersonator Archie McPherson.
Jim Baxter, at your infinite best, you were imperiously majestic, arrogant, strutting, some might say, cocksure.
Okay, I was that, Archie. I was cocksure. I mean, more than once I was called Scotland's midfield genital. But in them days, I mean, I was mental. I was pure dead mental, so I was.
And you were accused of being lazy too.
Lazy? Me? Oh, I was that. I was that lazy. When I peed myself, it didn't run down my leg. It strolled.
And yet I remember with translucent clarity that great day at Wembley, you were omniscient that day. You went past players with a languid fluidity.
Yeah, well, see, I had a couple of great teachers, actually, and I'd 3 white Mackays and a double grouse. But before I went on the pitch, I think that would explain the languid fluidity.
Performers need a stage, and for a Scot, the greatest stage of them all is Wembley Stadium, and the opportunity to perform a duty of great national importance. Give the bastard English a right good gubbing. Here legends were born, men like Denis Law, the Lawman, so called because his second name was Law and he was a man. It was he who had the reactions of a mongoose and the hairstyle and face as well. Here also enigmas are spawned, men like Jim Bett. An enigma, incidentally, is a Scottish euphemism for someone who played a good game once and we're all waiting for him to do it again. The Wembley match against the old enemy always draws a big tartan following, and where, as with playground songs and nursery rhymes of old, historical references are at the heart of every song and chant, and political grievances are aired subtly through the words, "Oh, spot the loony, spot the spot, the spot, the spot, the lunatic." And the bitter aftertaste left by the infamous Highland clearances is still all too evident in the barbed nuances of "We hate Jimmy Hill, he's a poof, he's a poof." And leading us down the years to triumph and, admittedly, now and again, but we won't go into that, the odd occasional defeat, have been some great managers. And Tommy Docherty. Next year, the Dock celebrates 40 years in and out of football. But how did it all start? The genesis of Docherty's career coincided with the dawning of a golden era. But how did the Dock help to make the 50s and 60s such a glorious time for Scottish football? He stayed in England. But Docherty's exile was not to last. In 1971, he was appointed manager of the Scottish national team, and it's perhaps in this capacity more than any other he's remembered for three famous throwaway lines: the forward line, the midfield line, and the defensive line. And so, for a manager whose career has been more controversial than most, we pay our tribute to Tommy Docherty by leaving him 5 years later, in 1977, experiencing perhaps his greatest moment with Manchester United.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Brown.
Today, though, we have a new breed of manager, young go-ahead men whose enthusiasm and deep feeling for the game shines out through their breathless optimism and vitality. Men like Dundee United's jovial Jim McLean.
Well, personally speaking, I've never liked the Premier League. In fact, I don't like leagues at all. Leagues breed fear, and fear is bad for football. But that's good, because I hate football. I've always hated football. At school I was always picked last for the playground kickabout, and the more skillful players never passed to me, so that's why I became a manager. Last week Paul Sturrock scored the winner against Aberdeen, then turned to the crowd and smiled, so I fined him a month's wages. Paul Sturrock doesn't get paid to smile. People don't come to watch Dundee United to see Paul Sturrock smile. In fact, people don't come to watch Dundee United at all, and I hate that. There's no getting away from the fact that we are a provincial club, and we're a small club. How can you hope to compete at the top level with a team that contains only 7 full internationalists? I was embarrassed when we won the Premier League. I was ashamed. Personally speaking, winning the championship was the worst experience of my life because, well, I had nothing to complain about. And I hate that. I was terribly depressed. So when Rangers offered me the post of manager, the biggest job in Scottish football, I had to turn it down. I mean, I had to do something to cheer myself up.
Like all else in the Scottish game, when it's good, it's very good, and when it's bad, it leaves us with a taste in our mouths, akin to that which must have been felt by the cattle barns of the Wild West when they witnessed the arrival of the first sheep farmer. The mutton pie has for a long time served to remind us that the game does not survive purely by watching 22 goalpost impressionists daubing a canvas of delicate destruction, but more importantly by what the masses regard as the last bastion of a stadium's quick snack. But it would be inconceivable to imagine a pie without a drink that has become synonymous with liquid beef and brown confusion. While macaroon bars and spearmint chewing gum have tried to break the dominance of catering's old firm, the pie will always be like those expense account experts who wax lyrical about this game of ours, full of mince. Now we're talking Tom Ferry, Hugh Keevins and Arthur Montford, the only commentator to prove his lack of bias by always wearing the colours of all the teams in the league on his tie. What a stramash. The game, pies, bovrils, souvenirs, specials and all, only lasts 90 minutes, but the après-match discussions go on and on and on.
Hello, caller, you're through now.
Hello?
Yes, hello, James Anderson here. What's your question?
Hey, Mr. Sanderson, my question's this. See, by the way, it's good to have you back, Mr. Sanderson. Me and the boys were having a wee discussion, and we wanted to know what you think about... Well, what it is, see, I mean, I don't know the boy, okay, but basically what it is, right, it's, I mean, it's Cammy Fraser. I'd like to know what you think of that.
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
What is it, Mr. Sanderson?
Where are you at again today?
No, I wasn't. I'm sorry,
well.
Mr. Sanderson. I couldn't go today. I was at the wife's funeral. And I had my tranny with me though, and I listened to your commentary, and I just like to say, I think you and Richard did a great job.
Well, thanks very much. But even so, how long can a funeral take? Surely you could have made it along for the second half at least.
Well, see, I'm unemployed, Mr. Sanderson. I can't really afford it.
No, I'm sorry. That's just not good enough. You must have some money coming to you if your wife's just died. Now, I really think you should be making a bit more of an effort here.
Well, see, Mr. Sanderson, I've got the kids to look
now
after.
that is just pure bunkum, to use a favourite expression of mine. Can't they be put into care for 1 day a week? You see, we're talking cross purposes here, caller. My job is to get people into games. I want bottoms on seats. I want your bottom, caller.
I want to bring in your second caller. Hello, caller, you're through to James Sanderson.
Hello, James.
Yes, sir.
James, I'd like to take issue with you in something you said on radio this afternoon.
Oh, you would you?
Yes, you described a Brian McClare goal as unequivocal in its execution.
That's correct.
Well,
What have I done?
I feel perhaps you confused the categorical affirmative tense with the recurrent subjunctive here. I mean, the term you actually should have used is irrefragable.
No, just a moment. I think that's quite refulgent of you to say, so if you don't mind, Bob. No, just a moment. Are you accusing me of mendacity?
Well, I'm afraid I am, James, and even verbosity.
Well, that is sheer poppycock. That is nothing but outright bunkum and balderdash.
Come on, that's not fair, James. I mean, you're making words up now.
I beg your pardon. We'll have to agree to differ there, caller. I'm irrevocable in my contention, unequivocal. And by the way, I have said this to Brian McClare's face, by the way. Unequivocal was the corroborative, definitive description of his goal.
Well, you see, James, I lecture at Glasgow University in English language. Its usage...
Excuse me, now don't flash your credentials at me, sir. I've travelled the world with Scotland, so don't bend their words with me. And anyway, as I've said before, and I've said this repeatedly, I don't like to intellectualise unnecessarily about football. So if you don't mind, caller, what is your question?
My question? Oh, yes. Well, I'd like to ask you this. Cammy Fraser. What do you think about that, then?
Scottish football's insatiable appetite for new heroes, new thrills, has led even our top referees to hunt for fresh talent in the public toilets of the world. As recently as the late 70s, to woo our top players back home, the authorities introduced all-day drinking in Scottish pubs. It was a valiant effort that succeeded only in enticing George Best to Hibs. Usually the lure of the looker down south is too tempting. After all, a footballer has a comparatively short career, as John Gregg will testify.
Well, yes, it certainly is not a long time, and you've just got to get out of it as much as you can. I mean, it just flashes by, and in no time it's time to hang up your boots, or sign for Hearts.
But the new breed of soccer superstars seem all too aware of the brevity of their fame, and many have made lucrative sidelines through endorsements, sponsorship deals, and putting their life story in print. Like the champagne kid himself, Charlie Nicholas.
There you go. A wee drink of champagne goes down a treat with crispy pancake roll and chips. Do you mind if I take some of my earrings out? They're making my head lopsided.
Charlie, tell us about your book.
Well, it's an it's a book about me, and it's told, and it's dead clever, that's right. But all these words, they join up together. It tells you a story. Well, you've got to read it, like.
And what's its title?
Well, we had a bit of trouble thinking up a good name. See, then I had a brainwave. So I say myself, I decided to call it Charlie. Because by sheer coincidence, that's my first name.
But if we learned anything from watching this wonderful insanity of ours, it's that football is a funny game. Occasionally, the unexpected happens. Neil Cooper might go through a whole first half without being booked. David Speedy might learn to keep his mouth shut. And a Scottish international might reverse the trend and move back to Scotland. Unbelievable, but that's what happened this year. Graham Souness signed for Rangers. Was it an unexpected decision? Not really, because when I was with Spurs, I was always a Middlesbrough fan who had always supported Liverpool. And the only team I would have moved to Italy for would have been Sampdoria, because when I was a boy, I used to skip school in Edinburgh and sneak into Italy to watch them. But as I stood there cheering on Sampdoria, I couldn't forget that as a fetus, I was an avid Rangers fan. Whether Souness's arrival provides a breath of fresh air or a stale belch to our game remains to be seen. Only time and Chick Young will tell. Because, let's be honest, football is not without its problems, and issues need to be faced, like the toilets at Hampden Park, Jock Brown's commentaries, and the ever-continuing true story of Maurice Johnston in the Sunday papers.
Even when I was just a wee red-haired, a blonde-haired lad at school, all I ever wanted to do was to be lucky with birds. I soon discovered playing in the school team was a surefire way of nicking a chick. I always wanted to be a footballer, but instead I signed for Partick Thistle. Then came my move to Watford. I must admit I was a bit apprehensive about moving to London. But to be honest, I had no problems with Elton John at all. In fact, he was very friendly and was often in the changing room before, during and after a match. But before long, I was back home at Celtic Park playing the best football of my career and looking forward to the World Cup.
Resetting tracksuits, accusations of police harassment. Johnston was just what the game needed, a character. He seemed a certainty to lead the attack on the discos of Mexico, but then disaster down under. Alex Ferguson.
Well, about a week before a match, Maurice Johnston had a big party in his hotel room. It was a real wild one with loads of booze and stacks of girls. And it really annoyed me, because the wee rat never invited me.
Mo's international career may have survived this faux pas, but that night, in true kamikaze style, he sealed his fate with the, by now, infamous incident outside Ernie Walker's room.
Who is it?
It's me, Mo Johnston.
Piss off.
Come on, don't act it. Here, what's going on here? Do you know what time it is? Get back to your room. But boss, Alec. Move it. All right, Mr. Walker?
Yes.
What was the problem?
Oh, he'd given me a loan of his nude books and he wanted them back.
He gave you his nude books? Right, that's you finished, Johnson. Bastard, he promised me them.
And so perished one man's dream of World Cup glory and having his picture taken dressed up in a silly cowboy outfit for the back page of the Daily Record. But beware the World Cup dream, for it has a habit of turning into a nightmare. Let us not forget the last time we visited South America, strutting arrogantly as gallas gauchos proudly parading on the purple pampas, only to have our bolasses well and truly tangled and wedged firmly between our legs. Burns's words were never more fitting. And skiing dawa frae Hunnock's Raw wi' pride and awe sae tattered, doon the walk and scudded along, and Ally MacLeod was shattered. MacLeod led us to Argentina on a wave of high optimism, a wave that was soon crashing against the rocks of a severe routing.
Regrets? Well, who could say? I mean, history will tell. But at the end of the day, I myself, that's me personally, I don't regret anything. I just wish it had never happened, really.
To be fair to Ali, the world's press gave the Scots a hard time. One rumour insisted they were all having whisky for breakfast. This was, of course, rubbish. For a start, you couldn't get whisky out there. They had to make do with lager.
A turning point was the penalty miss against Peru. I still say that if Don Masson had scored, we would not have lost 3-1. No, we would have lost 3-2.
Then there was the Willie Johnston affair.
Well, I spoke to Willie as soon as the story broke about the drugs. He assured me he'd taken nothing illegal. And I believed him. I still do. No. And the reason I believed him was because he was a professional. I mean, he wanted to play for his country, and besides, he'd have been daft to take drugs on top of the amount he'd had to drink that day.
Just as the scribes and Pharisees of ancient Judea had turned on another leader some 2,000 years earlier, so the scribes and Pharisees of the sporting press turned on this would-be Messiah too. Ian Archer was particularly upset.
Ally MacLeod, God, he really annoyed me. And all that time he spent selling carpets, and he still couldn't get me a discount rug for my head.
But let lying dogs sleep, secure in the knowledge that this sham of a charade of a fiascotic debacle will never happen again. Even as I pontificate, in far-off Mexico, 11 Caledonian crusaders stand ready, stout hearts pumping Scotch broth through pulsating veins to the homespun harmonies of Scotland the Brave. By the way, did you know Cliff Hanley wrote the lyrics for Scotland the Brave? Yes, isn't it amazing how quickly you can go off a song? If industry is the heart of our nation, football is the aorta valve. If agriculture is the backbone, football is the slipped disc. If oil is the blood, then football is the clot. And as we go Roman in the hemoglobin, if even once you stop to ask yourself, what the hell is he talking about? Then it's all been worthwhile.
Hardly an Excuse featured Jonathan Watson and Tony Roper and was written by Big West Fargo, Bob Chopper, Bright Nipper, Neil Flat, Robert Ramage, Ian Mambo, Patterson, tragedy, the producer was Philip Duffer, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.